Okay, there we go. Did it harden up while we took a break?
Only the skin.
Okay. The skin.
I'm bringing the bottom in because I'm going to try and make a bottle.
Ooh. Now, why would you put that like slip clay black on? I just saw you put it back on.
Because I don't need water necessarily.
Oh, so you're
If I
just
can use
using
slip.
like slip from your hands.
Doesn't make the clay any wetter, but it makes more
More slippery.
yeah. And this clay was already conditioned from the other times when I was throwing off the hump,
Yeah.
so I didn't.
You don't have to do it too much.
Exactly.
I wonder why something spinning is so mesmerizing.
Right? I don't know.
I mean, it
either.
is for most people, not just us.
I think it's mesmerizing for anything, right?
Yeah. Looks like a little globe.
Hmm. Oh,
Uh-oh. What, did it slip off the bottom?
a little bit, yeah.
Oh. Interesting.
You push it down,
You just have to push hard.
and then I'm going to bring it in again.
Okay.
Okay. So that happens,
Yeah.
especially on a bat.
Oh, it does happen on a bat more often?
Yeah, especially on a like plastic bat or something.
Yeah.
Some bats have a little more porosity to them,
Mm-hmm.
and they will grab better.
Yeah.
And you can see I was really pushing a lot in.
Yeah.
And that can
Was enough
break
to-
the seal.
Yeah.
So I was being a little bit
Like you would never,
uncautious.
oh, you were being a little unconscious.
Uncautious.
Uncautious.
Yeah.
You would never like use a glass bat that was very like
Right.
smooth because the porosity wouldn't grab the clay very
Right. Like these bats have a little bit of
well.
a
Yeah, a little grit to them.
little bit of a surface, but that was more of me just pushing too hard.
Yeah. You're pushing too hard.
Pushing on me.
Can age ourselves with our songs.
Right. I'm gonna make a bottle with a very narrow bottom, so I'm not opening it up very much.
Okay, I'm gonna try and get the inside. Oh yeah, that is not very much.
And I'm gonna always stop, check my depth. I have a tendency to go a little too thin sometimes, and I like to be able to have the option of having a nice
Like-
chubby foot ring.
Yeah.
And if I go too far down, I can't. And then I like to be able to glaze the interior, and if I go too far, I can't. So sometimes I leave a little extra, and I like to trim, so I don't mind leaving a little extra.
Yeah.
It just means I trim a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to do that move.
Now you said you like to glaze the inside. What would the foot ring or the bottom have to do with glazing the inside?
Because the foot ring has to come up high enough so that I can glaze.
You're glazing
here.
the underside of the
yes,
pot.
underside of the pot. Yes.
Okay. That makes sense. So there's no raw clay except for the foot ring.
how that.
So with the bottle, do you have to choke in the entire time? Like
Pretty
just
much.
keep choking, keep choking.
You've got to keep it
Very,
always coming in.
yeah.
You really got to keep this guy.
Is that what they call it? Choking?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if it gets too wild, flared out,
Mm-hmm.
then
you can't
you
bring it
lose
back.
control. Can
Right.
I video the inside?
Sure.
Oh, very cool. Oh, look, that's a cool video effect.
We're amateurs.
I know. That's what YouTube is all about. Well, you're not even belling it out just yet. You're just pulling it up.
Correct.
Okay. I don't know what that's called when you puff it out.
And I have to leave enough on the outside for support, but
Yeah.
not so much that it's so heavy
Mm-hmm.
that I have to trim it forever and ever.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when shaping it and when pushing it out, I want to make this guy really round and moony.
Mm-hmm.
You always think you're going real far out, but you really aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I think a lot of people think you have to do is start from the bottom and go all the way to the top. You don't really have to do that.
That's what I would think.
You can kind of start where you want the biggest part to be first.
Oh, okay.
And that's okay. Especially when your walls are kind of thin. So if my walls are kind of thin, if I start here, this doesn't have enough support.
Right.
So I'm going to start
That makes
where I
sense.
want it really nice and round, and I'm going to use my rib. And I'm going to just gently push out there first. Now I'm going to come down and give it a little support here. And now I'm going to come here and give it a little support here. And now I'm going to slow down just a little bit and give it a little more support there. Come here. Now maybe kind of come up a little bit more here. And then I'm going to come a little bit more here.
That's looking very pretty.
And now, remember I said I was going to have a small bottom,
Mhm.
so that when I'm leaving all this for support for this bulbous part,
Uh-huh.
but when I trim it, I'll be able to trim the bottom real narrow like that.
Oh, okay.
So now comes the fun part.
Okay, I'm going to try and catch.
So when you collar,
Uh-huh.
you want either 3 points of contact or 4 points of contact. So you
Okay.
either want a triangle shape
Uh-huh.
or a square or a diamond.
And
Right.
that's just
But that is what brings it in. If you
Okay.
have an oval,
you're going to
nothing's going to happen. It's not going to get any
well,
smaller.
But the triangles
But
seem
the
to work.
triangle is what, and so your danger zone is right here. And you do not want to put any pressure at all
Okay.
right there. So you got to be above that area.
Okay. And so there's your triangle. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things you would never think of.
I know, right? And right now I've got 4 points of contact.
Mm-hmm.
And also when you
So even though you're
Collar.
starting quite low, like down here,
mm-hmm,
you still use that same concept.
mm-hmm. And now
Okay.
it's thickened quite a lot.
Okay.
So now I'm going to come in here and it's like I'm going to literally do a baby pull.
Okay.
And this is how, if I wanted to put a nice long neck on my bottle,
Now, what if you don't, you're like, that's too much neck. Can you
I'll
cut it off?
Mhm.
Okay.
Just a little more water. Because I want this a lot flatter.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's very cool.
And I'm not concerned about this. I'm going to take care of that later
Okay. With trimming or with another technique?
with another technique.
Okay.
Because right now, I like that I have this neck here because I have options.
Uh-huh. Do you want a thin neck? Do you want a thick neck? Does it matter
Don't
so
know
much?
yet.
Okay.
I
But
don't.
like just for physics and how
Oh, I want it to
support?
be consistent with the thickness of the pot.
Okay.
You know, just like any other kind of pot. And this, at this point, a lot of times this gets really off center, and that's
Uh-huh.
okay. It's just
Don't
part of
worry
the.
about it.
It's part of what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But so, this can get real tricky here.
Yeah. That transition does seem very tricky. Because you're having to deal with it without support on the inside of the pot.
Correct. Here's a little nifty trick.
Mm-hmm.
If I can find something to do it with. Is it big enough? Yes, it is.
What's gonna happen?
I've sealed the air.
Oh,
So
so
that
the
is gonna
air itself
help.
is enough pressure.
That's going to help when I put pressure on here.
Oh, that is very, very cool.
And I'm going to try to blend this line here.
Uh-huh.
And I might even leave this line up here for just because it's kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
But this is where I can kind of blend that out.
Yeah, no, that's looking really good. I wonder who thought of this. Probably some
Smart
caveman.
people.
Yeah, a million years ago.
Right.
Or you probably could even blow into it if you felt like
you can.
needed.
You
Really?
blow into it if it's starting to lose its
Uh-huh.
shape. So now I have to decide. I think this is way too big for this pot. So,
The neck is too big?
yeah. And
Okay.
my vision was never to have that much clay. See how
Okay.
thick this is?
Oh, yeah. Here, let me get a little closer.
I'm going to take
Oh, it
all
is
that
quite
off.
thick.
And now I can even come in here and take
Mhm.
this off. And what I envisioned was this pot having a very, very flat
Mm-hmm.
surface this way
Mm-hmm.
with a very tiny, tiny little opening.
Yeah.
And
And
I can,
same concept you're using, either triangle, like 4 points or 3 points,
exactly.
bringing it in.
And when I start getting down to these
And see how it
smaller,
looks.
and
Oh, yeah.
it's like pulling it up like that, right?
Mhm.
And then cutting it off.
It would be very easy to collapse it in on itself at this
Mhm.
point
Yeah.
at the neck.
And now I'm doing 3 points.
Uh-huh. But with pressure from the inside tool.
Uh-huh.
Let me see if I can get that better. Oh, that's good. Oh, do that again.
Oh, hang on.
Okay.
I can't do it just for show.
Yes, it was a good move.
Oh, but I'm going to do it again in a minute.
I always wondered how you got it so tiny. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
I'm going to pick that up for Sean. Okay. There we go.
Thank you.
Okay. And do you
Now-
always use like a that type of something, a tool to make
Yeah.
a very tiny neck like
Yes,
that?
otherwise this would end up being way too thick.
Yeah.
And this is very messy looking right now.
And that's us. That's one of your
It's a
chamois.
chamois,
Okay.
yeah. Because there's all this kind of messy, mucky slip up
Yes.
here. Because you couldn't really go in there and compress it.
Yeah. And then, so when you made Mom's memorial vases, this
Mhm.
kind of was what you used for the most part?
Yep.
Very, very cool. Let me take a.
I'm
The
still
shape
not
is really
happy.
nice.
Still not happy with the very, very tip top.
No?
No. Okay, now
I like the little flare out at the very lip.
I did too, but I gotta
You gotta.
redo it. Have to redo it. There we go.
When I'm in close up, it's hard to hold it still
There
enough.
we
but-
go.
Now you're just doing that for lines or shape?
For shape and the lines, I'll probably trim those out because I think what I'm
Uh-huh.
going to do is I'll probably end up painting on this one.
Oh, okay.
What I'm trying to
very
do is
pretty.
get this lip. It's like, out of all the things I've done, this is taking the longest.
I know. Very nice.
But it's this curve.
You're looking for something specific in that, because that's where your attention is on when you're looking at a piece like this, I think.
Exactly, it's the negative space that I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. It's right here. There we go. It's like I see it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And this, I'm just going to have to clean that up
Yeah.
when it's less wet.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
there's a chance of collapse.
Exactly. Now the fun part comes.
Yeah. This is the part I always think is cool. Because then you could see the shape more.
And this is my own little
Very
trick I
cool.
learned myself.
Yeah.
I put this in here and I put the sponge under my hand or below my hand and let the water run right
Yeah.
off of my chopstick.
Very cool.
And then I cut under it. That just allows the skirt to re-stick to the pot.
Okay. And then this is on a bat, so you don't have to move it, but you do have
Exactly.
to cut it off
Exactly.
or wire it or whatever you call
Mhm.
that word.
And in fact, this one I know is pretty thin at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna let it sit up for a couple of hours before I cut it.
Really?
Because this shape, if you do cut it and you know it's a little thin there,
Yeah.
you can, while you're cutting it, you can actually make it go wonk like
oh,
that.
that's not good.
And so I'm just gonna let this guy hang
Yeah.
and not cut for a hot minute.
And he's by the open window, so that's good.
Yeah.
And it's a warm day in San Diego today. Beautiful. I'm gonna go in